did too. So
our friends in 506 over here, we are right now in New York Comic Con. Our editor-in-chief is, I was not able to make it, but fortunately I was able to get some interviews, at least via Zoom. Over here we have Mr. Vincent Zurzolo, owner of Metropolis, one of the biggest comic book and vintage comic book houses, and it's auctioning site, sorry, it's comicconnect.com. And Mr. Mark Michaelson, one of the owner of what Vincent is holding right now. It's a Superman #1. It's not an Action Comics #1. A lot of people confuse them. No. And this piece is going to be auctioned in November through the site that Vincent owns. And well, both of them are one of the biggest collectors of vintage comic books. Vincent has 6 Guinness World Records. 6, is that correct, Vincent?
yes, 6 Guinness World Records. Yes.
6. So now we're going to talk about, comic book collecting and all that. So first of all, Mark.
Yes.
You know how I roll.
What took you to sell this comic? It's you purchased it back on the 70s from the original owner who purchased it back in 1939. What made you say, it's time to let it go?
It goes back to the original owner. I bought it again for the original owner who purchased it in 1939. He had it for 40 years. He was retiring. It came into my possession at that year in 1979, and you know what? I've enjoyed it for 40 years. It was a goal, and I achieved it, and I loved it, and I cherished it. Time for somebody else to enjoy it.
Okay, so in this case, well, this might be like the most valuable piece of your collection. But what other pieces do you have in your collection, Mark?
Oh my God! Most of the major Marvel Grails #1s, some of the DC Grails #1s. I have a pretty extensive collection. Very fortunate.
Okay, so you just decided to let it go because it was time for somebody else to have it. There was no such thing as a, some people keep these things in case that there was any money hardship or anything like that. This is not your case. You just say it's just time, correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
One of the things I find most impressive about Mark, his collection, is that he bought a lot of these comic books off the newsstand, the ones from the 1960s and 70s. And so it's really nice to see somebody who's so passionate about comic books and who has held on to his collection for so long. Again, fantastic information to know that this has only been owned by 2 people: the original owner who bought it off the newsstand in 1939, and then Mark in 1979. And soon on Comic Connect, starting November 22nd, ending the week of December 13th through the 18th, we will have and find out the new owner of this comic book. And this is one of the greatest looking Superman #1s I've ever seen. The condition is exceptional. This book will break the 7-figure mark. This book will be a new record holder in the grade. It is absolutely beautiful. The pages are beautiful. The pages are supple. They're really nice, beautiful color. And the cover, you can see just by looking at it, it is unreal.
I can notice that, well, I don't know if you remove it from any capsule, but it is not graduated by, well, it doesn't show graduation from CGC or those services, or maybe it's on the back or something.
It will. You're absolutely right. It will. We're going to be sending this off to CGC Monday overnight to CGC, and they will be grading it this week, and we're going to find out what the grade is.
How did you keep it for 40 years? What is the secret to keep this mint condition comic for so long, Mark?
That's a pretty good question. It's one my wife's been asking me. So, excuse me.
Sorry.
You got him? Sorry. It's a busy place. I'm not one of those people that brags. I have a lot of things, and I don't tell people what I own. That's the way my father was. That's the way I am. I just enjoyed it for myself. In fact, when my wife saw it about 30 days ago today, she about had a coronary. She's a collector too, and she was able to really appreciate it. That's just the way I am. I bought it for my enjoyment.
But I mean, any care for the comics? You keep it in a specific material. That's what I meant.
I believe you kept it in an air-conditioned safe deposit box.
Yeah, safe deposit box. That was temperature controlled.
Oh, nice. And now that you brought your wife, and I was going to ask you on that. you met your wife collecting. She's also a collector on her own. You met her.
Met her right here. Met her
You
right
met
here in
her
Metropolis.
at Vincent's store, I guess. Is that correct?
Yeah, I sure did. 12 years ago at the booth.
At the booth here at New York Comic Con.
Correct, at Comic Con. I was shopping like I always do, and it's kind of a tradition. I come every year, bring family, friends, what have you, introduce them to the industry. And I saw a really attractive woman with a big laugh and a big smile, and she was buying comics. So it was a win-win-win. I recognized her. I'd met her previously somewhere, like earlier. I didn't know her name, but I made it my business to learn her name and to ask her out. And a few years later, I married her, ruined her life, gave her 2 kids, and that's the story.
Okay, guys, anyone who's watching this, don't be afraid of collect or have any hobby. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's for nerds. You're going to die alone." No, look at Mark. He's the living proof that is not true.
Yeah,
Okay.
with a wife and 5 kids, I'll never be alone. Yeah.
Were you at the wedding, Vincent?
No, I just learned about this a few days ago. That they met at our booth. I didn't know. It's something that touched my heart. It's really fantastic to find that out. I think it's one of the best stories I've ever heard about Comic-Con.
That's true. That's why it brought my interest, and I really wanted to speak with you, at least long distance. And guys, for example, you, Vincent, you own 6 Guinness World Records. How is that certified? Does an actual Guinness official goes there during the auction, or how is it? How does it go?
You have to send proof to the Guinness World Records so they check it out. We sold the first $1 million comic book, the first $2 million comic, the first $3 million comic, currently the most expensive action comics ever sold at $3.25 million. We also sold the most expensive check, the check that DC Comics wrote to the creators of Superman to buy the story for Action Comics #1. That was auctioned off about 10 years ago for $161,000. We also sold what at the time was a world record, the most expensive American cover art, which was the cover to Amazing Spider-Man 328 for $693,000. So we've got a lot of experience with very big ticket item books. And we also sold the first Silver Age comic book, the first comic from the 1960s that sold for over $1 million. That was Amazing Spider-Man 15. CGC graded 9.6 for $1.1 million.
Okay, do you have the plates, the World Record Guinness, the Record Guinness, diplomas or plates at home, or you have them over there at the stand?
In the office. They're in the
office. Okay. Mark, is
Yes.
Superman your favorite, or you have,
Yes.
or what's your favorite hero?
It is my favorite. Bought my first comic when I was about 5 or 6 years old. Still have it, by the way. And it was Superman. And I collected everything: DC, Marvel, Carlton. I mean, all the titles. That's always been #1. Always.
Okay, and well, in this case, well, you said you have your own collection. Your wife has her own collection. These kind of things now are considered as assets. Now they have an actual value. They are going to be auctioned on all that. And well, it brought also my attention that you paid your college through buying and selling comic books.
That's true. That's true.
Is it possible to actually live from that, so you can be a collector and not just a hoarder or something like that, like people consider?
Well, I was putting myself through school, and I found a job like most people do. I needed more, and I started buying and selling comic books to the local conventions. That was in Houston, Texas, and it ended up making more buying and selling comics than I ever did with my job. So it was wonderful. Paid for all the college, the books, everything, tuition, everything. The industry was good to me.
Okay, and you only collect comic books, nothing else like baseball cards or anything like that, or?
I had a wonderful baseball card collection, and unfortunately, my mother did what most moms do, and she threw it out when I left school to go to college. So no, it's actually a family joke. She wasn't being mean; she just didn't understand. So it's kind of a family joke. Something I held against her for many, many years, and got a good laugh out of it.
Oh, well, maybe you would also have a big auction on baseball cards right now. And what is the expected value for this comic book to reach during the auction?
Well, We believe this is going to break a record, and it will definitely break the 7-figure mark. So, sky's the limit. Like as Superman says, up, up, and away.
Okay, current record owner was the Action Comics #1, sold by the Christopher Reeve Foundation, right? It was sold via eBay, if I'm not wrong. It was like 3.4 million.
No, I'm talking about the the Action Comics #1 that's sold on eBay. I bought, and then I sold that for more. But the comic book that we just sold now is $3.25 million. It's an Action Comics #1 8.5 was about 3 months ago.
Yeah, I remember that because I remember it was on CGC, it was like a 9.4, something like that, the value on 9.4.
9.0.
9.0.
One from
Okay.
2014 was a 9.0. The one we just sold was an 8.5, which makes it even more impressive. It's a lower grade comic selling for more money.
Is there going to be a big event? Well, obviously you can follow up the auction, but it's going to be like some kind of streaming or something to follow up for this?
Yeah, it's an online auction, comicconnect.com. Everybody in the world can follow it on comicconnect.com. If you want to bid, you have to join beforehand. If you want to bid over $25,000, you have to be approved beforehand. And hey, it's going to be an exciting time. People are going to be watching. It's going to be, get your popcorn ready and get ready to see what happens.
I'll be watching.
No, well, obviously. You're going to be like, okay, now I can buy this. Okay, now I can buy this. Okay, is the money going entirely to you? Or is there going to be any charity or something like that?
Yes, typically I've donated books to charities in the past. My two favorite have been St. Jude's and the March of Dimes. And every time I sell something, a portion of it goes to those charities. Those are my two favorites.
All right. So now, well, with you be a big veterans on collecting and comic book industry and everything. What do you think about the path the comic book industry is taking right now? Or what would you think will be the future? No more prints, or what do you think?
Okay, so you're talking about like digital comic books?
Yeah, so what do you think? Is there is the comic is the printed comic book condemned to disappear?
Obsolete, I get it. Yeah, no, let me say that I don't believe that the printed comic book will ever go out of style. I'm gonna quote one of my favorite comic book creators of all time, Stan Lee. Stan Lee said that comic books are like food. They're great to look at, but much better to hold in your hands.
Sure.
That's correct.
That is correct. That's true.
No, yeah, there's no. I cannot argue with the generalissimo, right?
It's indisputable.
Yeah, it's indisputable, and well, so hope that the auction goes up and away, like you said. I really appreciate you taking this time to talk with me. And well, anything else you would like to say before we're going to paste their social media of Metropolis and everything. We'll ask you for that later.
So I want to thank you very much for thinking of us to do this interview. I really appreciate it. I hope all of your listeners and viewers enjoyed this interview, and you can see tons of other interviews we've done on our YouTube channel, on Instagram, Metropolis and Comic Connect. And of course, please watch the auction, bid in the auction. We want as many people eyeballs on this auction. And by the way, if you don't have millions of dollars to spend on a comic book, there are plenty of comic books in our auction that sell for far less. So there's a comic book for every budget, a budget for every comic book.
That's really important. I recently spoke with a collector of figures, action figures, and this is the same. There is a moment where you need to start. If you want to start your collection, there's something for every budget, and it's so good to know that you're not one of those guys that think this is just for an elite of people. And I really appreciate that, because the little boy that maybe sees the comic book over there say, maybe I will have one of those sometime. Mark started that way. You started that way. So everyone has to start some way.
That's exactly how I started.
What was your first comic, Mark?
Exactly. Superman Annual 1960, #1, Annual #1. I still have it.
Nice. You're not going to sell that one, right?
I don't know. Right now, all my efforts are just concentrated on one. Each one hurts a little bit when you let go. So let me enjoy this. Then I'll
Okay.
decide.
That's great to know. Well, thank you very much, guys, and well, hoping to see you in person. Okay.
All right. Take care. Thank you
Take
so
care.
much.
Thank you.